What if we could combine the best features of different animals? Imagine a massive elephant with the speed of a cheetah, or a ferocious lion with the ability to fly. And what if it wasn't science fiction, but a reality we could create ourselves? It sounds crazy, but it's not impossible. In fact, it's already happened. But the real question is, should we do it again? That's what we'll find out today. In order to understand how we can combine the features of different animals, we must first look at how living beings reproduce and create offspring. In nature, there are species that can crossbreed, like horses and donkeys that produce mules, or wolves and dogs that produce wolf dogs. But the vast majority of animals cannot interbreed, because they are simply too genetically distant from one another. To get around this problem, scientists have been practicing genetic engineering for decades. They've been transplanting genes between species to produce GMOs, or genetically modified organisms. The most famous example of a GMO is probably Dolly the sheep, the first mammal that was cloned in 1996. This means that Dolly was a genetic copy of another sheep. Now imagine if instead of cloning a whole sheep, scientists could only clone one feature of that sheep, like its wool or its resistance to certain diseases. They could then transplant that gene into another animal. For example, a mosquito resistant to malaria, and then release it into areas where the disease is rampant. People who are bitten by these mosquitoes would no longer contract malaria. This technology is called CRISPR-Cas9, and it allows scientists to modify DNA with great precision. Using this tool, researchers from the United States recently managed to edit the DNA of a pig and a jellyfish to make a pig that glows in the dark. But these were simple examples. How difficult would it be to create a completely new animal by combining the genes of several different species? We don't yet have the technology to combine the genes of very distant species, but it's also not impossible. Someday, scientists may be able to create super powerful wildlife that combines the best features of different animals. But what kind of wildlife could this be? Let's imagine that we can combine the genes of all the animals in the world and create something truly unique. What if we created a bird that could swim like a shark, chase down its prey, attack it with its beak, claws and poisonous fangs, swallow it whole without chewing, and then fly away with it in its beak? Or a wolf with the eyesight of an eagle, capable of chasing gazelles across the savannah and catching them effortlessly? How about an elephant with the endurance of a camel, allowing it to roam vast distances in search of food without needing water? These creatures might seem like fantasy, but they could become a reality. Who knows? But what if we combine the genes of animals and create a creature that's too strong for our planet? Scientists estimate that the number of species that have ever existed on Earth is about 8.7 million. Moreover, according to National Geographic, up to 5 million of these species live in the ocean and 1.3 million on land. Needless to say, the variety of animals on our planet is huge, and we're still discovering new species every day. So if we combine the genes of the fastest animals, we could create an animal that's much faster than a cheetah. And what if we combine the genes of predators with the strongest animals? Maybe it will turn out to be a predator stronger than any other animal on our planet. However, such a creature could not only easily destroy all living things in its path, but it could also survive anything. It could go without food for a long time, withstand extreme temperatures and radiation, and perhaps even become immortal. But such an animal would not only pose a danger to humans, but could wipe out entire ecosystems in a matter of days. And what if we combine the genes of animals with those of plants? What if we create a creature that can photosynthesis and doesn't need to eat or drink? Such creatures could be dangerous to humans, or perhaps they would become the savior of our planet. Someday in the future, when humanity exhausts all its reserves of minerals and fossil fuels, plants will remain on Earth as the main producers of energy. Perhaps someday in the future, people will learn to use solar energy as efficiently as plants do. But until then, we'll have to look elsewhere for resources. However, before we talk about how these creatures could affect the future of humanity, let's take a closer look at how the merging of animals could occur. In fact, it's happening right now. Hybrid animals are already found in zoos and aquariums around the world. For example, the liger is a hybrid of a lion and a tiger, usually larger than both parents. There are also tigons, hybrids of female tigers and male lions. These animals are smaller than ligers. Interestingly, in the case of tigers and lions, the offspring depend on which animal is the mother and which is the father. When a male lion fertilizes a female tiger with his sperm, a tiger-lion hybrid or tigon is born. When a male tiger fertilizes a female lion with his sperm, the result is a liger. In addition to ligers and tigons, there are many other hybrids of wild animals, such as mules, which are hybrids of horses, and donkeys. Hybrids can occur naturally in the wild, or they can be artificially created by humans in captivity. Hybridization of animals is often done to create new breeds of domestic animals with desirable traits, such as increased milk production in cows or resistance to certain diseases in chickens. In some cases, however, hybridization is done simply out of curiosity or for entertainment, as is the case with the liger, which is considered the largest cat in the world. However, hybridization can also have negative consequences. For example, in the 1920s, farmers in the United States began to hybridize coyotes and domestic dogs to create a new breed of hunting dogs. However, the resulting hybrids were aggressive and did not behave like domestic dogs. As a result, the hybridization program was stopped. In addition, hybridization can lead to the loss of genetic diversity, which can make animals more vulnerable to diseases and environmental changes. Despite the potential risks, many people are still interested in the possibility of creating hybrid animals. After all, it would be amazing to see a dog that could fly or a cat that could glow in the dark. But is it really possible to create such animals, and what are the ethical implications of doing so? It's likely that we'll be able to combine the genes of animals and create new species in the near future. But what will happen then? Will these creatures help us or harm us? Will governments allow us to do this or ban it? Will scientists go too far and create uncontrollable monsters? All of these questions are difficult to answer, but one thing is clear: the world won't be the same. Imagine if someone combined the genes of a spider and a human and created a Spider-Man. Or what if a tiger and a lion had a baby, creating a liger? What if a donkey and a horse had a baby mule? It might sound crazy, but it's not impossible. Genetic engineering has advanced significantly in recent years, and it's now possible to splice together genes from different species to create new ones. This raises ethical questions about whether we should alter the genetic makeup of animals and what the consequences of doing so might be. Should we allow scientists to create hybrid species, or should they stick to natural processes? What if these new creatures escape into the wild and cause ecological havoc? Or what if they become too big, too smart, or too strong for us to control? Many people believe that genetic engineering is playing God and that we shouldn't mess with the natural order of things. Others argue that if we can create new life forms that could save countless lives, we should do it. But what if we could use hybrid animals to help us in other ways? For example, what if we could create a malaria-resistant mosquito to help combat this deadly disease in Africa, or a drought-resistant crop to help feed the world's hungry? What if we could even create new animals with beneficial traits for humans, like dogs that don't bark or cats that don't shed? The possibilities are really endless. But what if we could apply this technology to something bigger, something that could really change the world? What if we could create a hybrid animal that would help us explore space or even colonize other planets? Imagine a creature that could survive the harsh conditions of space, breathe in toxic atmospheres, and live off the resources of other planets. With the right combination of genes, we could create an animal that would be perfectly adapted to survive in the most extreme environments. This could revolutionize our ability to explore the universe and could even be the key to our survival as a species. If we could create a hybrid species, would you try it? What traits would you combine to create a new creature? Tell us about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this episode of Other Side, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on new episodes. And don't forget to leave a like. Until next time.